to all the people who are watching this panel discussion. I want to, applaud the initiative of the Tashi Lhunpo Monastery for organizing this panel on a very important day, because today is actually a day of celebration, because today is the 31st birthday of 11th Panchen Lama, Gendun Chökyi Nyima. Unfortunately, today is also a day of sadness, because he has disappeared for the last 25 years. Normally, when it's your birthday, your parents and siblings and neighbors and friends will come and be with you together. But the Chinese government has denied this basic right to Gendun Chökyi Nyima for 25 years in a row. From some accounts, his parents are not allowed to meet him regularly. In fact, not even a few times a year. His grandparents were forced to live in China, and then they, could meet him only a few times, and till, when they were very old and when they were dying, they were not allowed to return and settle in Tibet. And his siblings are definitely denied this, right to be with their brother and celebrate his birthday. But, on behalf of Tibetan people and CTA, I want to wish Panchen Lama a very happy birthday. Wherever you are, we wish you well, and we all want to see you, hear you, to be blessed by you, like the great 10th Panchen Lama. The Gendun Chökyi Nyima was actually recognized by the committee established by the Chinese government of Tashi Lhunpo Monastery. He was endorsed by His Holiness the Dalai Lama as the Panchen Lama, but unfortunately, right after the endorsement, he has disappeared, and CTA and Tibet support groups and Tibetan associations around the world have made annual appeals to the United Nations, especially to the relevant commission in Geneva, but they are not able to get information about his whereabouts. So Panchen Rinpoche remains a tragic figure. His situation reflects the tragic reality in Tibet, because even as a child of 5 or 6 years old, was not allowed to be with the family, to practice own religion, and become a spiritual leader, which all the Tibetan people expected and hoped that he would become. But wherever he is, we wish him all the best, and we want to say be strong. But I also want to, highlight the fact that, because of this coronavirus, which originated in Wuhan, the global pandemic has forced even a panel discussion on Panchen Lama to do it virtually. Normally, the Tibetans and friends all over the world will be approaching officials of various governments and highlight and advocate the issue of Gendun Chökyi Nyima. But this year, they are denied even that right. So it's a real irony that the global pandemic, which originated in China, has forced even to have a panel discussion on Panchen Lama to be held virtually. And I hope the international community will make the Chinese government accountable for the coronavirus and the global pandemic that's going on around the world. But I also want to thank our friends around the world for being with us on this important day. And there are many who are watching and supporting for the cause of Tibet. And today I can clearly see a great panel with Professor Tenzin Dojila, Arif Biryani, and Ziyad Rinpoche, and Matteo, and Sophie Richardson. Thank you very much to be in the panel, and it's a privilege to be with you all, and for all your support for these many years. I also want to say a few things about the 10th Panchen Lama, because he was a true patriot. as far as Tibetan cause is concerned. From the very beginning, he was very, patriotic. He did all he could in a very difficult circumstances in Tibet. For example, at the age of 24, after the occupation of Tibet, he submitted a petition, which is now popularly known as 70,000 characters petition to the Chinese leadership. And Mao Zedong called it a poison arrow because the petition was very critical of the Chinese government's actions and policies in Tibet. For example, he listed that more than 97 or 8% of monasteries and nunneries were destroyed in Tibet. 99% of monks and nuns were disrobed, and Tibetan culture and Tibetan identity, Tibetan language were discouraged. The cultural assimilation, forced sterilization of Tibetan women, all these were highlighted in that report. Now, this report is very important for another reason, because whenever you have a discourse on Tibet with Chinese officials and Chinese scholars, they say, look, the destruction that took place in Tibet even happened in China during the Cultural Revolution. But Panchen Lama's report clearly affirms that it's not true, because the report was submitted in 1962. That's 3 years before the Cultural Revolution, which means all this destruction of monasteries and nunneries and cultural institutions and discouragement of Tibetan language were a deliberate attempt or a strategy on the part of the Chinese government to destroy Tibetan civilization, Tibetan culture, Tibetan identity. Because of this report, he was incarcerated till 1977. He suffered enormously in prison, often in solitary confinement. If you read Baba Phuntsho Wangyal's autobiography, where he in fact forgot to speak after a decade of solitary confinement. But Panchen Rinpoche, in his the biography, you will find that every week or so, when he was taken out to see the daylight, he used to fight with prison guards so that he could mumble something, so that he could not forget to speak and he could maintain his sanity. So for us Tibetans, Panchen Rinpoche is such a revered figure, such a high-ranking Lama. To go through that kind of suffering, what we call tamsing, it's really sad. But the Chinese government did not spare even him. After his release in 1977, right after, he organized a prayer for long life of His Holiness the Dalai Lama, and specifically in 1987, he gave a very critical speech at the TAR Standing Committee meeting in Lhasa, and especially in 1989, on January 24th, he gave a very critical speech in which he said the Chinese government claim of benefit given to the Tibetan people pales in comparison to destruction of the Communist Party of China in Tibet. So there were more destruction, and Tibetan lost more after the occupation of Tibet than the benefits that the Chinese government claimed to have provided to the Tibetan people. So in short, Ten Panchen Lama was true patriot. He was very courageous, very morally upright person. He traveled all over Tibet in various places, even in small villages, encouraging Tibetan language, Tibetan culture, revival of Tibetan Buddhism, and most importantly, to be proud of being a Tibetan. He also opened many schools all over Tibet and encouraged many Tibetan children to go to China to study, to get educated. So his great legacy is what we see in Tibet now. The revival of Tibetan Buddhism, Tibetan culture, Tibetan language, Tibetan scriptures, publication of all these Buddhist scriptures were mainly attributed to his great contribution. And hence we owe a great deal to the 10th Panchen Lama and the suffering that he underwent, we all should remember. So, I hope and wish that the younger generation of Tibetan people will remember the great contribution made by 10th Panchen Lama, and the millennials will, come and rally to support the case of Gindi Chökyi Nyima. CTA has launched a month-long campaign, and it starts today, and then it will go on till May 17th, because that's the day when Gindi Chökyi Nyima disappeared and Chinese government has abducted. And I'm very grateful. Since his disappearance on May 17th, 1995, the U.S. State Department responded and issued statements in asking for his whereabouts to the Chinese government, and the many governments like the United Kingdom, Canada, Poland, France, European Parliament, and UN-related agencies all have passed resolution, issued statements, and issued reports about Gindi Chökyi Nyima. This, we must continue to do so. And on 8th April of this year, the Samuel Kogolati, the federal parliamentarian of Belgium, issued a public statement about Panchen Lama. And just recently, 24 European Parliament members issued a joint statement in support of Panchen Lama and asking Chinese government for his release and demanding his whereabouts. So I, on behalf of CTA, remain very grateful to all the members of parliament, to all the government officials, and especially to the panelists who are here, to continue to speak for 11th Panchen Lama. And I want to urge that we continue this campaign, and we demand his immediate release. And I hope the Chinese government will, pay heed to our call and do the right thing. That is to release Gindi Chökyi Nyima and let him to be with Tibetan people, and let him bless Tibetan people, let him play his spiritual role in the Tibetan Buddhist world. With that, I want to thank Dzogchen Rinpoche, the head abbot of Tashi Lhunpo Monastery, for providing the leadership. He was scheduled to go to U.S. Congress and to the Canadian Parliament. Even his visa was granted to the U.S., but unfortunately he's not able to do it. But I'm pretty sure the Dzogchen Rinpoche will lead this campaign with the support of Tashi Lhunpo Monastery, with our friends all over the world, and we'll make sure that the Gindi Chökyi Nyima is not forgotten. And we hope that one day soon he'll be released and he'll be with us. So once again, I want to thank the panelists for giving me this opportunity, and wishing you all the best. Thank you.